Hi, everyone. Dorothea Hendriks here, your communication coach in presentation skills and public speaking. Today, wonderful guest, wonderful gal. My guest today is Nikita Sharma. She's a coach and fitness trainer. She's high energy, she's fun, and she's deeply committed to helping people learn to love their bodies. Now, Nikita comes from a very traditional family. And Nikita decided quite some time ago that she was going to jump ship on the conventional plan that her parents had mapped out for her. Instead, she chose to follow her passion, which is one of health and fitness. And it was in the gym where she discovered that what she could do was she could actually kind of release and get rid of a lot of the tensions and the hurt and the pain and the frustration and the anger that she experienced in childhood. And as she worked through in the gym, she found herself becoming stronger, more confident, and now has created for her life the passion and the dream, actually the dream of her life. And she's doing that right now. And she's also helping other women become stronger physically, mentally, spiritually through her program, through her fitness program, her health and fitness program. She does online coaching, and her online coaching is called Lift, Laugh, and Love. And if you haven't seen her TED Talk on Listen to Your Body, as many of us don't listen to our body, I suggest you do what I do, and that is go and watch her TED Talk, write some comments, but actually listen to it. And then when you're finished listening to it, listen to your body. So welcome, welcome, Nikita.
Hello, Dorothea. I love that intro. Thank you so much. I'm like, yeah, keep going. I could keep listening to my story.
Oh, you are. You're just, it's delightful to have you here. Now, I have a question before we go any further. You do online coaching. Do you ever do coaching in person? Do you do that with people, or is it just only online?
I do. I do. Yeah, I live in New Westminster, Vancouver area. So if there's ever clients in that area and they have a home gym, I can come to them, or there's a gym in my building here, I can do sessions here, but I do offer that as well.
Okay, so you do them online and at home as well. So for somebody, like me who's not really an online person, I mean I do things online. We need to do things online. My work's
Mhm.
online. But man, otherwise I love to do something person to person, face to face, right? And I'm sure you have clients like that as well. My question now to you is, how did you get into this? How did you realize one day, did you just wake up and go, "Whoo, fitness is my passion. I'm going to do that." What happened that you actually moved into this arena?
Yeah, so it was a very distinct day. I remember I was in my sitting downtown office, Calgary, that all big corporate job. And I was like, I could just feel my soul was like not happy. And I was like, something needs to change because I can't do this for the rest of my life. And so once I had that moment, all of a sudden I was like, okay, well, what else am I going to do? What else am I going to devote 50 years of my life to showing up every day doing? And I was like, well, that better be something I like doing. And so I was like, well, what else do I like doing? And then at that time, I was really getting into the gym. I was really obsessed with just the way muscles moved and how to stress them in different positions. And I was, I loved it. I craved more knowledge and I'd be Googling exercises. And so that was my first indication. But then my logical thinking brain was like, how are you going to make that a career, like a successful long-term career? You're not just going to be a personal trainer forever. But I was like, you know what? I'll figure it out. Like I'm a very much so shoot first, ask questions later type of person. And I'm like, I'm sure I'll figure it out somehow. And that's really how I got into it. But it was such a huge part of my life growing up. It helped just athletics in general and running and playing sports. I didn't know it at the time, but was such a great emotional, mental release of trapped emotions I had from living up in the north, small town, and faced bullying, racism, and then just, a lot of like just fighting and yelling between my household. And then health athletics. It was just a way for me to release all that. And I felt so good. And then I was like, I want to teach other women, people how to do that for themselves. Cause it's not just about looking great. It's about how
Mhm.
you feel on the inside.
So when you
So
talk about listening to your body, because we are actually very body conscious society, always kind of evaluating ourselves, what that person looks like, how I look like, how I compare. That's not really what you're talking about when you're talking about people and helping them really appreciate their bodies, is
Hmm.
it? You're talking
No.
about, so can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, for sure. It's about feeling empowered in your body and strong, and that really relates to life, like when something happens, when a hardship happens, a fearful instance happens, like it shuts us down. We get either afraid of it, it gets those emotions get trapped in our body. And then so what I help people really do is through the meditation and breath work as well, is like sit with their bodies, you feel it. A lot of us face anxiety, depression these days. Okay, but now how are we going to release that, in a healthy, constructive way? Therapy is great, but to me, this is one form of therapy. And it's very known now that emotions like fear, guilt, and anxious, they get stored in our body. So then I help them release it, yoga, and then the working out, just building that strong resilience, showing up into the gym, doing things that are difficult. It calluses the mind and body in a way that makes you feel so confident and strong and see that you're capable of doing hard things, whether that's in the gym or having difficult conversations or starting a business. It shows you that you're a capable person.
Hmm. That's interesting because we're also now talking about when you're doing these exercises, one of the big things I hear, just my interpretation is here, is your ability, one, you're setting a goal, and number two, your ability to focus on that goal for a result, something that you feel you can do. And I can think there are a lot of people, and I'm not alone in this, where you think, oh gosh, it's so much work. Really, is it worth it? Do I have the energy, the strength to go through? And my focus, keeping my focus on it. But
Mm.
what do you do here to help people in terms of understanding, number one, that they can do it, and number
Mhm.
two, that focus just to continue to give that commitment? What do you do? How do you help people do that? Make that commitment and focus.
Mhm. So it's a process. It's a process that you apply to everything in life. And the first step of that process is setting a realistic goal, right? And getting excited about this goal that you're going to set, because anything that you used to use the mind to move the body, right? But if you're not committed and inspired by your goal, there's no way you're going to get up and want to go do it at 6 7 a.m. if you have to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, pick a committed goal and something that's going to scare you a little bit, and then reverse engineer it. Chunk it down into a month, 3 months, 6 month timeline, and then chunk that down into the daily activities of that goal of what you're going to do. So that, like, let's say you want to do a pull-up, Dorothea. So, all right, we want to do a pull-up in 3 months. This is where we should be in a month by month, 1.5. And this is the small action steps. You're going to do this. You're going to hang for 30 seconds every single day. And then you're going to try to pull yourself up the week after. And then you're going to try to use a chair to pull yourself up a little higher. And it's just about showing up every day, being consistent. There's going to for sure be roadblocks that come in the way, right? Like excuses, life, but that's part of the process. You
Mhm.
learn that discipline and then once you flex that discipline muscle, which does get stronger, the more that you do it, you build that consistency, and then you're just like a train, and it's hard to stop that train once it gets going. So,
Well, yeah, that sounds exciting. And so my question is here, you talked about motivating, and you talked about roadblocks. What are the biggest or the most common? What are the most common roadblocks that you've encountered in your training that people have? And how do you overcome those roadblocks? It's called motivation, so what are the roadblocks and how do you overcome those?
so since I work primarily with women, the biggest thing is prioritizing themselves, right? Like
Mm.
women are such nurturers, givers, but the biggest thing is, honey, if you're so worried, if you're going to keep it promises to your boss, to your friends, to your family, but not to yourself, like that is the biggest obstacle most of my female clients face. And it is about learning that prioritizing yourself is not selfish. right? It's very cliche, but put the oxygen mask on yourself first before giving it to others. And people think it's time, people think it's money, it's that. It's like, no, where are your priorities? You need to prioritize yourself first. And, if you've got diabetes, if your mental health is not in good standing, you're not going to be able to keep a job for very long anyways. So it should supersede even your job, right? And that can look like something so small as in just carving out 5 minutes in the morning to meditate, or taking 30 minutes of your day to go for a walk. It doesn't have to be this full-blown fitness routine that some people think, but it's just about taking that small initiative and to prioritize doing it.
So so the roadblock, the biggest one is basically for women, since you're dealing mostly with women, is to carve out time for themselves, to actually nurture themselves the way they nurture other people in most cases. So setting yourself as a priority and then carving out that time. What happens if I can't carve out the time? I mean, oh gosh, there's just so much to do. I've got my kids, the cats, the dogs, the work, the this and that, and I don't know where to carve out the time. So how do you help me, Nikita?
Yeah, it's it's a hard conversation to have with a person. I'm not gonna lie, but
Mhm.
no one else is willing to have that hard conversation with themselves, or no one taught them how to do that. And so it's like, really, what are your priorities and how can we make more of that time? And like, where can we find time? Right. And it is very much so a mindset shift. Once you stop making excuses and start looking for solutions, like maybe if that looks like 5 minutes before work, sitting in your car, meditating, or taking your dogs for a walk, and finding in that time, like, hey, you sit on the bench, they're going to play. And there are solutions if people are willing to look for it, if they're committed to their goal.
Mhm.
So that's the biggest
I
thing.
think a key word here also that you mentioned was mindset. Having the mindset instead of just saying, well, something I should do, it would be nice to do. I know I'd feel better, but I don't have the time. And sometimes people leave it until they really are sick, right? But it's changing that mindset. And I'll speak from my own experience, changing our mindset about things sometimes and just opening that door a little bit can be a real challenge. So what are some of the ways in which you motivate people or help them shift their mindset? Maybe can you give us one thing that you do to help?
It's I paint the picture for them for their future.
Mhm.
Like, this is where you are and this is where you want to be. Like, what would that look like? What would that feel like in your body? What are some of those experiences that you would do if you felt more confident in your body, if you fit into that nice dress? And again, it's not about how you look, but really taking them on that journey and showing them that it's possible. And I have this powerful paragraph, this statement paragraph. It's called the definite main purpose. It's taken from Think and Grow Rich, essentially, with some affirmations, and it's their like DMP statement. And it essentially goes something to the effect of, we pick the date. So let's say it is December 2024, and I, Nikita Sharma, am so happy and grateful now that I have gained 2 inches on my glutes. I am walking every day, and I have a ripped back, or something like that, whatever the goal would be.
Mm.
And then, so that's the goal. And then the next sentence is, I accomplished this by, and then the daily action steps. Okay, how are you going to do that? I accomplished this by working out 4 times per week, sticking to my meal plan, and getting to sleep on time. All right, those are the action steps. So it starts to alleviate a lot of this mental decision fatigue, right? Climbing that huge hill can seem like such a struggle. And then we talk about, okay, how are you going to feel when you get there? And who are you going to become? And I get people to read this daily. So it's their mantra. So when you're focused on that, there's no way you can't hit your goal if you're doing that.
That sounds, and that's a real action. Those are real action plans. Because the big thing here, sometimes I find the big obstacle, I'm going to say not the big thing, the big obstacle is we set something for ourselves, but then we don't plan the little itty bitty steps to get there. And it's those little itty bitty steps, plus actually being able to see, feel, and in one way experience in advance. And then you're just reaffirming, reaffirming, reaffirming. And so that's actually how you get people. And I can see that. I can see that so working. It reminds me in a way of, I have little cards. I call them little treasure maps. Yeah, but instead of a big map, I do a little one that, that I have in reference for my own goals. And I find when I drop the ball, say I'm going away somewhere and then I don't take the cards and I drop the ball, somehow my momentum drops as well. I don't do what I've got on my cards that I'm affirming every day. And I actually lose the engagement that I have in the goal that I want to pursue, right?
Totally, totally. It's
Yeah,
all about focus, right? Because life can
yeah.
just pull us into so many directions and we forget to focus on our goals.
Right. And so there's a fair amount of work that you have people do before they actually even start out beginning their action steps in the fitness program,
Oh
right?
yeah, the
They have
first
to,
week is all mindset. Yeah,
wow, the first week. Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
And what are, so when people feel themselves, because you've had doubts, fears, obstacles, well, when people get doubts, fears, run into something that they can't do, you've had your own experience with that. How do you help them overcome that? What have you done to overcome some of your own obstacles? Because I'm sure growing up, when you told your parents you didn't want to follow the conventional path that they had set out for you, which is probably go to school, get married, have kids, and be very, very structured. Um, you probably ran into some roadblocks there.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure did. Yeah, I do think that spending a certain amount of time alone and getting to know yourself in a healthy manner, you mean not rotting in your bed scrolling your social media. That's not the right type of alone, but like spending time in nature and reading the things that you're interested in, getting to know your inner self, exploring, being creative. That is an important step because there are a lot of inputting sources into ourselves. But if you don't know what you want, if you don't know how to listen to the whispers of your heart, it's going to be hard to continue down your journey if you don't have a strong sense of groundedness in who you are, what you want. So that's my first suggestion is like write these things down, and then finding the right people was a huge, huge step that helped me get over a lot. And not being afraid to let certain people go. Like it's a part of life. Some people are in your life for a reason. Some people are in your life for a season. So I think practicing non-detachment was a big one for me as well. And even with my parents, like when they were angry at me, I had to just be like, I love them, but I need to do this for me. Like I love them so much, but I can't live this life for them. And same with the friends. Like sometimes, I could feel I didn't fit into a friend group, and I'm like, I love these people, but do I want to just pretend to dull myself down to stay comfortable with them? Or, no, these are not really my people. And go find people that you do resonate with and who do celebrate you and who do want to see you win. So yeah, your circle has a huge effect on you, and it's helped me a lot. Like finding the Toastmasters group was one of the best things that I could have done. So
In what way? Was Toastmasters one of the best things that you could have done?
yeah, in a lot of ways. So because of the bullying like I faced growing up, I was very afraid to be seen for a lot of my life, and I didn't want to stand out. But I knew if I wanted to go on social media and put myself out there, I need to get over this fear of public speaking, of not being seen. So the first step of doing that was overcoming this fear and then getting my message out. Okay, like what do I have to share with the world? And then meeting other people that were also doing the same thing, like that energy of just being around people that are change makers, that are following their passion. I was like, this is what I need. Because before that, I thought it was going to be a long, lonely road. So to be around people and hearing them like encourage you and giving input, and it's like, okay, you go and you just I found my tribe, found my community. So it was so inspiring. And then, yeah, meeting Roger and then doing the TED Talk, that was a whole nother thing. So, but it was crazy. I don't even know if I told you, it was like, because I started doing all this meditation, learning about law of attraction, and then like, moving my body and really getting into it. 3 weeks before Roger approached me about the TED Talk, I was in my kitchen and I was like, I think I want to do one eventually in my life. And then that happened. So yeah.
Oh, pretty cool. And you've got it's a wonderful story about yourself in terms of the TED Talk. In terms of that TED Talk, you took the plunge, you put yourself on stage, and had you been doing you had just started your business when you did the TED Talk, right?
Yeah.
And so what was your learning from being on the TED Talk stage? I know we worked on your script a little bit, but once you did it and that whole process, what are three things that you could actually tell people, encourage them? Should they do a TED Talk? And what was it that you feel was really that made it worthwhile?
Mm. It's funny because it was very similar to the process of working out, of picking a goal, right? There was that 3 week timeline we had, and there was so much fear. There was so much fear around it, Dorothea. But I just showed up every day, and 80%, I think there's a quote, 80% of life is just showing up. I
Mm.
showed up every day. We wrote our speech, even though I had no idea what it was going to look like. I was terrified, even 30 seconds before stepping on stage, like doing push-ups in the hallway just to like get my jitters out. But yeah, the first big lesson was show up no matter what, because you got a goal to reach. And then practice as much as I could. Like I remember even crossing the street, or as I was driving down the road or sitting on the toilet, I was like, okay, I know that I'm not strong in this part of my speech. Like, I'm gonna see if I can just recite it right now. So I would try to recite it right there in a stressful situation to mimic the TED Talk stage. And so that shows a lot of like, okay, if we're not strong in a certain aspect of our lives or somewhere, it's not to shy away from it, but every skill, everything can be learned if you're willing to show up and do your best. And so, yeah, those are the biggest things I learned. So,
And actually, there are transferable skills that apply anywhere, right? And
exactly.
I don't know if you'd like to, but would you consider doing another talk somewhere down the road?
Yeah, I would, if when I get a little bit more clarity with my business,
Mhm.
because it was a baby and now it's like becoming a butterfly, emerging to what it is. So I really see myself like being on a stage, and maybe it's not a TED Talk stage, but some sort of stage, and actually demonstrating like physical fitness, like in real time, getting people to experience it for themselves, something in that aspect. And I love stand-up comedy. I want to throw some more humor in there and things like that.
Oh,
So
the lift, the laugh, the love. Yeah.
yeah.
You also are into bodybuilding, and I find that is interesting when we think in terms of fitness, because I think in terms of fitness of, oh, exercise, losing weight, getting myself in shape. Don't really think of it in terms of bodybuilding, which is taking it to, I don't know if it's another level, but just another way of looking at it, where you're looking at your triceps and biceps and how you're shaped, and then you're in that little itty bitty bikini and people taking pictures of you, or you're flexing your muscles. What's the whole thing about bodybuilding in and of itself? And then what made you take that plunge and enter competitions? You talked about being not wanting to put yourself out there. Man, you can't put yourself out there any more than in a bodybuilding contest.
Yeah, it's crazy how it came full circle, like just switched. It was because I love the bodybuilding style of workouts. It's truly meditative. Because when you're in there, you're thinking about your mind, like what muscle group that you're working, and you're in the gym with a purpose. You're working that muscle group. It's all about intention, right? Whereas like I give boot camp classes and things like that. But when you're kind of working out like that, to me, there's no real intention. And yeah, you're burning calories, you're feeling fit and all this kind of stuff. But with the bodybuilding, it's slowing down the movement, really being intentional with it. And it's much safer too.
Can you
and
give an
feel.
example? Would it be possible to give an example right now of some, I don't know, raising your arm, doing something with a muscle, showing kind of the intent?
Yeah.
Could you do that?
Yes. So like women flex.
Yeah,
Um,
sure, sure.
so like for example, a tricep push down, right? It's you've got a cable here and you are extending the tricep down to flex this muscle. And it's very different whether you're going all the way, if you're not going all the way down, because this muscle isn't completely contracted versus all the way down, then it's fully contracted. Now, what also changes is if you're a little bit higher or a little bit back, or the angle of the the machine and the cable and how many reps you're doing and how many sets you're doing. All these things stress the muscle in a different way and produce a different result. And so like there's not just one muscle in the tricep, it's made of three. And also where you position your hands also dictates how that looks. So to me, I'm a scientist, I love knowing that, doing the change, and then feeling the change, and then seeing the result. It's just the coolest thing. It's truly body sculpting, but you are in tune with your body. It is a meditative practice. You're getting in touch with yourself. You are, and you're building something amazing. And so I truly do really love it. And that's just the triceps, like for me, my back is the favorite part, like lat pull downs, rows, and just again, different hand positioning. And I mean, you can truly feel that like the way that you even engage your pinky, your outer pinky, which travels down here and into the back and hits the back in a different muscle, to be that in tune with your body, to really see how it's a machine, is to me one of the most beautiful things. So
Oh, it's actually quite amazing just watching and listening to you. I find it actually inspiring, and I never really gave bodybuilding that much of a thought. But when you're actually, because a lot of people come to you for fitness, not necessarily for bodybuilding, right? But
mm-hmm.
when you're helping them with their fitness, whatever they want to focus on, do you encourage them to take the same meditative approach and the same approach to feeling and exploring their body and doing the fitness as you do in bodybuilding?
I do, but most people come to me from not being active at all and all this kind of stuff. So they need to work on stretching the body and relaxing and like feeling it first and getting the right mobility down first. And then eventually, like, when they're ready, I do, and when they're getting to the gym, I do invite them to be intentional about it, right? Because it's all about intention. I tell them, when you go in there, okay, you're doing back day, ask yourself, are you actually feeling the muscles in your back working, or are you just pulling the bar down, right? Because one's going to have a different effect. But if you really want to be a notch above, set an intention and go in with it. And is very applicable to life as well. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, what do your clients say that they love most about you and how you work with them?
My energy, like they say that like I'm just a vibe, and they like being around me, especially when my clients are, she's like, I can't remember the last time I've laughed, but like, the stuff we talk about can be serious and it can be not the most fun stuff to talk about, but I always put a little sense of humor and a spin on it, because life doesn't have to be so serious, like especially around this stuff. And there's a lot of like body shaming and toxic positivity, blah, blah, blah. But I try to take a really lighthearted approach to it. And my clients really appreciate that. Even when I'm giving them the tough love, I say, I love you. But if I was there, I'd kick your ass right now.
Oh, talking about that, I don't know why I brought it up, but I've heard you on some of your YouTube interviews talk about combining or working with both the feminine and masculine side. Can you explain a little bit about what that means and what that looks like?
So basically there are four bodies with us. There's the physical, the mental, emotional, and then spiritual body. Two of those are masculine, the physical and mental, and then the other are feminine. So we all have feminine polarities within us. Some are more masculine, some of us are more feminine, and it doesn't matter if you're a female or male. So balancing all four of these bodies is really important to be truly in alignment and in tune with the highest, happiest version of ourselves. So by training your physical body and your mental body, by meditation is for the mental, physical, obviously gym, exercise is that. If somebody is not good in those areas, it's going to show, right? We're going to not be healthy. And but also the emotional and spiritual, that can be done through meditation and yoga as well. And through my programs, I do sprinkle in yoga here and there. So it is really about balancing all those polarities, to because if one is stronger and one is totally neglected, that person's going to find it imbalance. And I think a lot of Western culture, there is an imbalance of perhaps the spiritual, emotional, like feeling like people aren't tied into anything, right? Like feeling there's no sense of purpose, because they've lost themselves is something that's pretty prevalent. And so, it is not just about health and fitness. It's a journey of finding yourself and finding the joy in little things and having gratitude for your life.
So I find listening to you is interesting because often when I think of fitness, and over the years I have explored different gyms and that, and usually a gym is a gym. Fitness is fitness. We're talking about the body. I can't think of anybody other than you right now, and not that I've explored, hundreds and hundreds, but of the few I haven't heard anybody really think about, oh, we've got to work on, harmonizing the masculine and feminine, and that there's a spiritual component and your sense of purpose and really, being grounded and all of these things that you're, in a way, you made reference to. Usually you just, a gym is a gym. You go and you sweat and you lose weight or build your muscles or whatever. How did you get into, at what point did you realize that actually true fitness is more than just losing weight and building muscles and sweat and stuff?
Hmm. Yeah, it was when I had my very own anxiety attack a few years ago, and I was doing all the fitness stuff. I was eating good, working out multiple times per week, and then I had this anxiety attack, and I was going through like a lot at the time. But I realized, like, whoa, there's so much going on in my mind that it actually affected my body to have a physical reaction and make me think I'm going to die. And I went to the doctor, and he was very happy to just hand me a prescription for pills, which I did not want to take. And then that's really when I went on this spiritual journey. I reached out to a coach because like for months I was having this chest pain. I didn't know it was anxiety. And so that's when I started, like, it's like a switch flipped in me, and I was like, meditate every day, gratitude, breath work. And then I started to realize, look into like Kundalini yoga and all these things. And that was about 4 years ago, and it hasn't stopped since. Like, I just keep learning more and more. And like, it's like I have that passion for the gym. I just want to learn more. And
Yeah.
just seeing how it all really is connected, it now makes so much sense to me of why I was so passionate about fitness, because I didn't know it yet, but it was really my first modality of healing. And this is all just a healing journey, really.
So when people come to you, you actually do, because I see on your website, you talk about mindfulness and you talk about nutrition and you talk about the physical body. And so really when people come to you now, you combine those ingredients together to help the person move full. It's just not, coming to do this or whatever it is, but we're also talking about getting more grounded and shifting the mindset, which is what you talked about earlier, right? Shifting our mindset. So, what would you say right now in terms of helping other people? What would you say are your greatest strengths? What you bring to the table when you're working with somebody?
Compassion. I have a lot of compassion for people. I see them as they are. I really don't judge them. Sorry. Really, there's no judgment there. And people judge themselves, I think, more than others. There's that fear for sure. And listening, I truly listen with my heart, and I really like it's a practice I do. I put myself in their shoes, in their lifestyle, pretend like I'm them waking up. And so I'm really good at pinpointing like the solutions that they need or offering them advice that that they could use.
Mhm.
So I really take the time with my clients. I really cherish them like family, or they were if they were me. So
So what the clients that you work with, I noticed one in one was on Facebook, you work with your mother. Yeah, how did I found that was so cool. Here you are with your own mother, helping her go through fitness. What prompted that?
oh, but I'm so it took years of convincing to get her on that. So her knee was in really bad shape, and she needed help strengthening it, and she was gaining weight, and it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And it came to a point where I was like, Mom, like, let me help you. And she finally said yes. But she was a complete beginner in the gym. You know, she had no idea what she was doing. And I think everybody come and she was like, I'm 62. Like, I don't want to be around all those like little kids working out. Like, I feel self-conscious. I'm like, I totally get that. But I started her at home, right? I started with some home workouts, got her comfortable with her body, learning the techniques, little things like that, and then slowly moved her to the gym. Very easy, you know, slowly introduced certain exercises, and she killed it. Like, she showed up, she did her best. Of course, there was days where she's like, no, I didn't have time. Like, your dad didn't want to go to the gym, da da da. But like, I had to have those conversations with her. I was like, Mom, how many years you have not prioritized yourself, and this is what it looks like. Like, you need to start taking care of yourself, because nobody is coming to do it for you. No one's going to come save you, right? So yeah, having those conversations, and she showed up, and oh man, 6 months she lost 30 pounds, and it was so inspiring, and it felt so good for me to give back to the woman who raised me and helped me. And oh, it was so
Oh,
great.
yeah, it looked wonderful from the Facebook, from your Facebook post. So is your mom still doing her fitness? Have you converted her to doing something on a regular basis every day or a few times a week?
Yeah, now she's the leader in my household for my dad. Now they go to the rec center. She's like, no, let's go. And whereas before is she was, I think she was worried about that. She's like, oh, I don't know. It was almost like she was looking for permission to have that lifestyle. But now she does it on her own, and she loves it, and she's going for walks way more. And now I'm trying to work on my dad next. We'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see.
So what I'm hearing from this is that you're never too old. You're never too old to start. So even if you've had, a lifetime of sedentary work, sitting in front of the computer, and now things are beginning to hurt, you got aches and pains, and mobility is being challenged. Even
Mhm.
if you're in your 60s or maybe in your 70s, you can start.
Exactly. Exactly. It's never too late. And the beautiful thing about the body is it's constantly regenerating. It's constantly healing itself. It's just like you have to put it under the right amount of stress, or else you're just going to live a comfortable, cushy life, and it's going to slowly degrade. So,
So
yeah.
when you're talking about putting it under a comfortable amount or a certain amount of stress, how do you know, Nikita, for somebody who's not done something, how do you know where to start? Like with your mom and her knee, how would you know where to start with someone?
The app I use, it's got a scale, and I always ask them, like, and there's this exercises that are for beginners, right?
Yes.
Like the squats and things like that. And I ask them, okay, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how did this feel on your knee? Or if they're like, oh no, I couldn't get up, then I just switch to the easier form of that. So really just working with them, and then slowly build them up. I'm like, okay, now it's week number 3. Like, is it still a 5 out of 10, or now is it a 3 out of 10 on discomfort? If it goes down, I'm like, okay, now you're ready for the next harder thing. So that's basically called progressive overload, is slightly increasing that stress within a healthy range, not more than 7 out of 10, slowly over time. And yeah, that's how we do
So
it.
I'm going to say right now that for people who haven't been into fitness, it's really important probably to have a fitness trainer. It's probably because the less you do, the more you'll need help with knowing where to start. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, because the body, won't be quite as flexible, and you're dealing with more weight, right, as you
Yeah.
get older. So working with a professional could definitely help. And I've had coaches in my life, and it's always excelled me greatly. And so I think it's very important.
Have you had a mentor, like somebody who's really been there for you that helped you during pivotal moments or helped you make a shift where suddenly you realized, oh, this person has just put me over to where I needed to be? Have you had one person like that, or is it just different people in your life?
Yeah, the person that sticks out the most was when I had that anxiety attack, and then I reached out to him, and he does actually very similar to what I do, with like the mindfulness, the body training and the nutrition. And but I was at my rock bottom. I was like, I need professional help. Like, I was in a depressive state, didn't know what I could do. And so, he really helped me just implement these habits, these daily habits, which is what it all comes down to. And I saw that, like, okay, the more I do this, the deeper I will get in tune with myself, the healthier I'll get. And it's just been a snowball process from there. So he really opened my eyes to see that, like, an hour is can be utilized for a lot. Like, you can
Mm.
do a meditation, breath work, even a home workout, and just the power of time and focus is also important. So.
Yeah, it may sound like a no-brainer, but I was quite interested to find out, even when you started your whole process, in terms of just the anxiety and the stresses, and fitness help you alleviate a lot of that and move into mindfulness. Have found it quite interesting that when we are depressed, that physical fitness can actually help move us out of that, right? That it's one of the things that just gets the body going, gets everything going, and we can rise above feeling sorry or depressed or whatever people feel, right? Because there are a lot of negative emotions that sometimes can take over, right?
Hmm, hmm.
Yeah. And I was
Yeah.
surprised that physical fitness, I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was surprised, right? To hear that physical fitness can really make a difference.
And I don't think a lot of people that even go to the gym realize that, but there's a hormone that's released from your muscles when you work out that basically gives you a high that stays with you for a few days after you work out. So, and on top of that, the dopamine rush. And so, there's a reason why I became so addicted, and it is an addicting thing. Like, but anytime that I take a break from the gym as well, that's the only time where my knees start to hurt, where my shoulders start to hurt, my lower back starts to hurt, is when I'm not moving. And so I think a lot of people have fear that they might hurt themselves in the gym, but it's really quite the opposite as well.
Yeah, it really helps you move forward. You work for yourself, you run your own business. If you had to go back and talk to a group of entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs who want to start their business, is there any advice that you'd give them from that you've learned going through the whole venture yourself of becoming an entrepreneur and becoming a successful business owner? What could you share with them? What tips would you give them? Or what would you do differently if you had to do it again?
Hmm. I would tell them, you are your biggest asset in your business, right? Your business cannot run without you. So you need to make sure that you are in the best tip-top shape mentally, physically, so that you can operate at the highest level, so that your business can do well, so that you can achieve your dreams. And so you need to get your mind right. You need to get your body right. You need to get your nutrition right. Because if you're low on energy, getting stressed out at every little opportunity, not able to handle your clients with a smile and the best loose solutions on the top of your mind, like, your business is going to suffer. So it's going to help you make more money at the end of the day. It's going to help you make more impact, and you're going to feel great. And people respect people that look in great shape as well. Unfortunately, unfortunately, they do. Um, that is the biggest thing. And getting them on some sort of mindset routine, and a morning routine, like, that's something that saved me, whether that's starting with 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day of meditation, doing that, or whether that's getting up and going for a walk in the middle of the day, doing that. Or I know a lot of entrepreneurs are busy. Solutions like get a meal prep service and get that delivered to your house. So it's, yeah, if I had to do it again, I would definitely start with a mindset. I wish I'd started with that sooner, but everyone has their journey and process. And so, yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned about mindset. What was the biggest thing that you had to change in your own way of thinking? Your biggest mindset challenge? Because everything really, so as we're finding out, really depends on our attitude, our the beliefs that we have. So what is the one thing that really stood out for you that you should have worked on in the beginning, as you just finished saying?
Mm. The negative thinking, or the seek and destroy of problems and solutions, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs are just wired to do. But to a point, it's not healthy to a point. I think, I did get this from my dad, and now that I have some space from it, I see he's a very like high stress person, and he's always focusing on the negatives and like, but not taking the time to appreciate what's good in your life. And so I did go from, okay, like I'm not where I want to be right now. Like, how can I muscle it? How can I figure it out? I can figure it out. And then, okay, like, well, what that person said, like, wasn't right. Like, how can I figure it out? How can I do better? And just like always focusing on what's wrong and what needs fixing, and what my next step would be. And like, no wonder I had anxiety, right? But then switching to just focusing on the things that are going good, focusing on all the small wins, because what you get more of, what you focus on, is what's going to happen more in your life. And so then once I really start to have that shift, and then your whole energy starts to change, and you start to feel happier, and then you start to attract more. And that is, the basics of law of attraction, but it's going to make the journey so much more fun, so much more a long-term game, which this really is. So,
Mhm.
I don't want to be at the end of my road, burnt out and fizzled out and miserable.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, it's very difficult to not focus on the negative because we live in a society that focuses on negatives all the time. That's where you get our news. And I think in many ways we are hardwired to gravitate to the negative because there's something sensational, something about it. I don't know, whatever it is. It takes a disciplined and focused mind to turn and shift yourself to the positive, right? And
Totally, totally.
that takes work. I mean, as you just finished saying, it was work. It was probably work for you to change that whole way of looking at things instead of focusing on the problem. What is it? Somebody says focus on the opportunity. I see it as an opportunity, or see it as an area for growth, or if I were to do this differently, how would I do that? And should I do it differently? Maybe sometimes it's not necessary. One of the
Absolutely.
questions, because I coach in presentation skills and speaking, so communication is a big thing. Do you find, or have you found in the course now of the years that you've been in your business, that how you communicate to people has shifted, that the language you use now is different from the language that you started with? And that how much does communication, you communicating with your clients, how much does that impact the end result of what you do?
Hmm. I learned less is more for my clients, because less is more, and I need to repeat the same message over and over and over sometimes, because it really depends on the frame of mind they're in. They might not receive it at that point. But I found that at the beginning of my coaching, I was, because I had so much to share, and I was sharing too much and not giving them an opportunity to figure it out for themselves. I wanted to really like help them, save them. So now I talk less and just listen more, and just tell them like those small little sentences or two that they really need to hear. And I found that's much, much more impactful for their journey, because I'm allowing them to figure it out. And then also the way I say things, right? It's not what you say, it's how you say it. So good job, I'm proud of you, versus like good freaking job. Like, yes, like I knew you could do it. The enthusiasm that I put behind it, which is another reason why it's so important for an entrepreneur like me to take care of myself, make sure I'm good in my mind, body, and spirit so that I can be there, show up the best I can be for my clients and have that awareness for them.
We're going to wrap up here, Nikita, but before we do, are there 3 tips you can give to people? I mean, short of them calling you or emailing you and saying, "Oh, Nikita, I want to work with you." Are there 3 tips that you can give them that will help them take better care of themselves? Just 3 quick tips.
Number 1, pick a goal. Pick a goal, something that gets you excited, and pick a deadline for it, because you need focus, right? So, and write it down, write it down, write it down, write it down, put it somewhere and recite it as much as you can. Second step is find a time in your day to work on it at least once, like work on it at least once throughout the day, whether that's 5 minutes towards the goal, whether that's half an hour. So if that's working out and you don't have an hour to work out at the gym, you can do a 10-minute squats in your room. You can do something, but it's at least you would have done it and you stayed consistent with it. So it's a win in your eyes, because the worst thing is not doing it and then feeling defeated. And so it keeps that momentum going. And then track your progress, right? It's so good for us to track the progress. If it's in a month, whether that's taking progress photos or marking it down on a calendar, being like, wow, I showed up for myself 5 days out of 7 this week. That's fantastic. That's about 80%, right? So pick a goal, show up for yourself, do at least one thing towards it every single day, and then track your progress.
So 3 very easy to do's, and I what comes to mind here is I heard you say about the goal, showing up. The big thing isn't track your progress. All of it really comes down to showing up. And I know from my own experience, when I show up, I feel better. And when I don't show up, it's like I'm lying to myself. And that actually ends up weakening me. Now I'm beating myself up, and there's a circle that takes, something that takes hold, and it can be perpetuating and self-defeating. So yeah, for everybody, write that goal, make sure you show up, do something, even if it's 5 minutes, and then track your progress. Thanks so much, Nikita. So Nikita, have you got something right now, a special that's coming up, something you'd like to say to people out there before we wrap up?
Yeah, so I have a program launch coming on May 1st, 2024. So it's going to be I'm calling it Stronger, Physically, Mentally, Spiritually Stronger. And so I'm really, look what we talked about, really incorporating this into a step-by-step process. So I'll be launching that, and I'll be launching it every few months. So that's coming up. And then as well as my regular programs, if you just need a workout plan, I've got that. If you want the accountability weekly coaching calls, I've got that as well. And if you're in person, I've got the in-person training too. So
And where do people find you, Nikita? Like, where will you be launching your program?
I'm mostly active on Instagram, so nikita.lift.love.laugh. Or you can shoot me an email, nikita@lift.love.laugh.com, or visit my website and find me from there, www.liftlovelaugh.com.
Right. And you're also on LinkedIn. I know you're on LinkedIn because that's where I've seen you, right?
Yep.
Actually, it wasn't Facebook, it was LinkedIn. So people can find you in different places. And I think before we go here, if I turned out to be a guy, would you also do training with me, or is it just women that you deal with? I know you work with women right now, and that's your primary, but would you turn a fellow away?
No, I wouldn't. At one point, half of my clients were males. And so it's just for marketing, all that kind of stuff. It's good to niche down to women, but I absolutely train males as well. I even trained my brother. So yeah.
And that's a challenge. If you can train your brother, you can train anyone. All right.
Yes,
All
absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Nikita. It's just been an absolute pleasure, and so much to learn too about fitness. And Nikita just doesn't work with your body, but she works with your spirit, the spiritual component, your mental component, the emotional components, and how these affect your body. So lift, love, and laugh with Nikita Sharma. Thanks again, Nikita, and to everybody out there, wishing you, and Nikita, wishing you mountains of success.
Oh, Thank you.